All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Giving double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the brothers out here laboring in this truth with sincerity. Just coming back with another lesson. As you can see, it says Trump's show of force takes shape with guard troops poised to deploy. So, we see the cruel Lord, is doing his job, man. Yahweh Shem Shai has him set up, man, to do what he's doing, and we truly believe that this man, will usher in, the MOTB as well as World War III, man. All the signs are there. And that's what we're doing. We're measuring the times, seeing what's going on, throughout the world. Mainly here in Babylon the Great, because we know the whole world moves at the pace of Babylon the Great, man. And that's the way the Lord has it set up, because this place must fall, before our Lord usher his kingdom in, man. So it says National Guard troops were poised to deploy in Washington on Tuesday evening as President Trump's plan to use the federal government to crack down on crime in the city began to take shape. And really, how much crime was really going on? This is just, an excuse to push forth his his plan. Martial law is coming to this place, man. It says Mr. Trump on Monday describes the nation's capital in apocalyptic terms as a crime-infested wasteland. And what major city in America is not a crime-infested wasteland? So eventually, this plan will spread to every major city, man. That if he's going by, the crime, because here in Atlanta, man, crime is running rampant. YN's going crazy, man. But let's get into the scriptures. All right, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, said the Lord." And that's what we focus on mainly, man. Prophecy. Seeing what's taking place, throughout the earth, and filtering these things through the scriptures. It says, "And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." It says, "Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee." And you have people speaking against what we're saying. Hey, man, it's unbelievable the amount of people that's coming up against the Hebrew Israelites, man. These people, they frown upon the law of the Lord. They think it's a form of bondage for them. It's gonna cut the fun out for them, which is total nonsense, man. The laws of Yahweh Shem Shai, brings forth life. It brings forth everything you could think of, man. Health, physical health, mental health, mental strength, faith first and foremost, man. This is what you're gonna need to survive the times to come. Faith in Yahweh Shem Shai. Hey, man, and Trump, he's gonna push it to the limit. Things will be pushed to the limit. People are going to be tried. And if you're not rooted in Yahweh Shem Shai, you're not going to make it. If you're worshiping Jesus, like you see all these people in the Christian church doing all this nonsense, man, claim they're speaking in tongues, doing all these dances, praise dances and shouting or whatever, man. These people are going to be mince meat out here, man. They going to get grinded up. Esau is not going to have mercy on them just because they believe in so-called Jesus, you know. But the unbelief is real, you know, and we can care less, man. Honestly, you know, we can care less if you believe what we're saying or not. At this point, man, you know, the only thing that's going to bring these people to reality is death, destruction, famine. You know, this is when these people are going to realize what's going on. It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. You know, and unfaithfulness goes hand in hand with unbelief. These people have no belief in what we're saying, man. You know, they'll say, oh yeah, I know I'm an Israelite, but I don't believe what they saying. You know, what they saying, you know, they still believe in the Old Testament laws. All this nonsense, man. You know, but what it is Yahweh Shem Shai is not dealing with them, you know. This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding was given to you, you know, from the womb. And these people don't have it. So it says, behold, said the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, the famine. It's like it's the sword, famine, death, and destruction. This is when these people are going to realize what we're saying is true, you know. But, hey, it's going to be too late then. It says, for wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. And we see it, the love of many waxing cold. You know, the unbelief is at an all-time high. So we know that we're in the last days, man. We know that we're close to the end. You know, anything goes, man. You know, they had this situation or whatever it was in New Orleans where you had a whole bunch of Jake men out there, man, in dresses, man, walking around like it was a thing to do. And ultimately, you know, Esau approves of this, man. You know, they approve of this. You know, they're making a mockery. You know, a whole bunch of Jake men walking around in dresses, man, is totally going off. You know, to put a dress on, period, as a man is going off. But to parade yourself around in the streets, and you have more men out there than women. So the Lord is gonna come back, man, and ultimately wipe this place clean. You know, this is definitely spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, man, as well as Egypt. So let's see, continuing on, you know, because this is pretty much where we are. Let's see. Go right here to the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24. And we'll get verse 3 and then we're going to jump down. It says, this is the book of St. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 3. It says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall we see these things? When shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? So they're asking the Lord, you know, when is the end of the world coming, man? When is the end coming? You know, and the Lord gives them, a clear outline of what to look for. And these are the things that we're seeing now. You know, let's see, matter of fact, we could just keep going down. It don't make sense to skip. Verse 4, it says, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am a Mashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And we see this taking place, man. You know, we see these things happening. It says all these are the beginning of sorrows. Matter of fact, let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 15. And let's see. Because this is what we're seeing. Trump has put National Guardsmen, in the cities, a United States city. This is unheard of, man. It's not riots. It's not, mass looting. It's not a situation like the Purge or anything, man, taking place. But, he's just testing it out. So verse 16, this book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 16, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men." Men are going to be coming up against the government, and eventually that's what's going to happen. You're putting National Guard troops in the streets, This is just going to rile the people up, man. And these people are being quiet about it. This is a major situation to put the United States military in the streets of America, to patrol the streets of America. This is major. So it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power." It says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." So that's where we at. If things really get out of hand in DC, and people want to, possibly leave the city, it's a possibility that these troops may say, no, you can't leave. This area is quarantined for X reason or whatever. It's a possibility that could happen. But these people, man, they have no clue. So matter of fact, let's go back. Let's see. I would get it in the GNT, but it's no need. Let's go back to the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, because this is how the people are acting, man. Verse 37. All right, this is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 37. It says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving into marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark." And this is speaking of Noah. And that's what you see now, man. You got men walking the streets of New Orleans in dresses, man. You got women disrespecting men at all-time high. People, Moism is at an all-time high. The love of many, waxing cold, is at an all-time high. And we're just in the beginning stages of this, man. So it says, "And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." Because the Lord is going to catch these people off guard. They're going to be living a normal life in wickedness, and the Lord is just gonna show up, man. It's gonna be too late. The missiles are gonna be shot off, and the Lord is gonna be on his way back. And at that point in time, it's too late, man. The elect will be sealed, and everybody else is gonna perish. So, matter of fact, let's go to the book of 2 Peter chapter 3. Because these people really don't believe the words. They don't believe the words that are written. The Lord said he's coming back as a thief in the night. All right, this is the book of 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat." And this, speaking of those ICBM missiles, man. ICBM nuclear missiles that's going to hit America, as well as other parts of the world, but mainly here in Babylon the Great. It says the earth also and the works therein shall be burned up. Seeing that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, not walking around the streets of New Orleans in dresses, man. Being occupied in prophecy, being occupied in the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. It says, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And why is this taking place, man? Because wickedness is at an all-time high. The Lord is tired of this place, man. Verse 13, it says, nevertheless, we according to his promise look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. And that's what we're looking for, man. We hate it here. It's out of order, all the way down into a lower level, man. We see anybody getting done wrong. We see all manner of wickedness, man. We're totally against it. We hate it. And who more wicked, than Esau Edom, in Babylon the Great. So with that being said, this was just a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And we want to constantly give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Hashem Rekakwadash. Shalom.